Hubert Hamel, and I was originally from Almond, Wisconsin. Well, my dad worked up at Stevens Point on the electric power line, and when I was 6 weeks old, he was killed. My mother was originally from Alberta up in Canada, so she took me back there where her folks lived. And I was raised in Camrose, Alberta, went through high school, finally a year and a half of pre-med up in the University of Alberta in Canada. And I eventually headed up to Alaska, worked on the Canal pipeline. I was a rodman. And we were surveying for sites where they could put tank farms. And they were shipping a great number of planes across to Russia. And of course, they needed tremendous capacity for gasoline. And the oil pipeline was part of it, along with the large tank farms. You see, Canada went into the war in 1939, and I was an American citizen, so I wasn't interested in going into the service. I would lose my citizenship if I swore allegiance to the king. So all my buddies, of course, they were going in the service, and we were very interested in what was happening as far as the war was concerned. I had to get all my papers sorted out in order to come back. And we flew from Fairbanks to Edmonton. Of course, that was my first airplane flight. It was in a C-47. And after I got my papers all set, I took the train and headed down to Wisconsin to my Uncle Harley's farm where I was born. And I wanted to get in the service at that time, of course. So I arrived in Stevens Point, and he met me there. Off we went, and I signed up and went to Milwaukee, and that's where I was inducted. They gave us a couple of weeks to get things straightened around, and left Stevens Point by train, and we went down to Fort Sheridan. That was 1943. That was where we got all our clothing, yes, and we got all our utensils and shaving equipment and so forth. We got the physical and the shots. They came rapidly thereafter, of course. The 65th Infantry Division was being activated in Camp Shelby, Mississippi. And they asked each one of us what we would like to do. Well, I said I'd like to go in the medical corps. My buddy says, no, thank you. He says, I'll go in the infantry. So like all the Army, he went in the medical corps and I went in the infantry. Actually, I went into the artillery section of the infantry. And we took a train from Fort Sheridan down through Chicago, St. Louis, and ended up in Camp Shelby, Mississippi, and we were assigned to quarters in the headquarters battery of 869th Field Artillery Battalion. I would say the climate was so nice. I was used to a great deal of snow and cold weather, and to be in the South was just wonderful. And the only thing that I didn't appreciate when we were in convoy, there was tremendous clouds of dust. Oh, man, that was terrible. I went to radio school at the battalion headquarters. And then once that was finished, we were able to go out into the field and, of course, practice. When I say practice, they were actually firing the 105 howitzers. The 105 was the basic howitzer that 869th Field Artillery Battalion had. And we would go out on maneuvers, and of course I had to use the radio in order to send the necessary fire orders. To get further training, our outfit shipped out to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, which is the field artillery center for the Army. And we had maneuvers there, and the infantry was not along with us, of course, at that time. We were, we had to coordinate with the 260th Infantry Division. That was our main group that we worked with. I was due for furlough, and we were having a training session out on the field, and they said that it's going to be 5 days, but you can have a furlough for 7 days, or if you wait till it's over, you can have 14 days plus travel time. I said, hey, I'll take the 14 days plus travel time. Well, when it finished, there was traveling all right, but I was on board the ship. I never did get my furlough. We loaded on trains, and of course, we were assigned just to day coaches, regular seats, and we didn't have any bedding or anything. And we slept in the seats as best we could. And we got to Camp Shanks in New York, getting ready to ship out, of course. The ship was right on the pier at, well, it would be on the New Jersey side, actually. And we boarded right from that. They took us by train, and then with our duffel bags, we clambered aboard, and it was a German liner that had been captured, Lejeune, it seems to me, that, but they'd converted it. Well, we were down in the holds, of course, and they had bunks. There were pipe type frame and canvas bunks, and there were 4 or 5 high. So the guy at the top, he had to climb up all those pipes in order to get to his cot. We had a pretty rough session going over. It was no easy trip, but we were in convoy. I'd say probably 75% of the guys were seasick, but I was fine. Oh, I had a little queasiness, but I went down and I had all my meals. Well, actually, the first day out, early in the morning, we were all in our bunks, or a lot of the guys were shooting craps, and we heard a big, kind of a muffled boom, and thought, oh, what's that? And had no idea, but thought maybe it was a depth charge that was going off, and never thought much about it until just 1988, I guess it was, or no, 96. I saw this movie that was on PBS. It was an hour-long show. Hitler's Lost Submarine. And what had happened was they sent this submarine over to New York. And he was torpedo boats that were in that area. But as he sent off one torpedo, it turned around 180 degrees and came back and slammed into his boat, and he was sunk. And they eventually found the thing, and divers went down, found out that it was U-boat number U-869. That kind of clicked, because my outfit was 869 Field Artillery Battalion. Was that torpedo meant for our ship or not? I don't know. We landed in Le Havre, and we had to carry all our duffel bag and everything, our carbines, and we hiked probably 3 or 4 miles before we could get to a place where they had trucks, and then they took us to Camp Lucky Strike, and this was a tent camp. We were taken from Camp Lucky Strike down to Cherbourg, and in that area, along all the roads, they had just tremendous amounts of equipment. And this is where we picked up our vehicle. I had a 3/4 ton truck, and they already had the SCR 610 radio in there, which I used. And then we headed back to Camp Lucky Strike. No, we had a driver. The major was the executive officer, and he was the man who gave me all my orders, of course. We were late in coming into the war, but the Battle of the Bulge was still going on, and so they wanted us over there in a hurry. And although we didn't get in actually to the Battle of the Bulge, we were sent to near Metz, France. And we got into it with the 20th Corps under Patton's Third Army. Then we got into the front line, and we were in Merzig, Saarlottern, Sardimes. Oh, there were several different areas along there. Well, about all you heard was the big guns going off, and there was really no worry. You just did what you had to do each day. As we got into Germany, there was tremendous devastation, of course. And even as we came through France, we saw lots of towns and homes that were destroyed, and we'd see a few civilians along the road as we were in convoy. I knew a little bit of French, and so I would hail them, and we were up mostly as forward observers with the infantry. We would fire our guns and they'd fire back at us, so it was, well, 95% of it was just waiting. We didn't do very much at all. But then all of a sudden that 5% came up and all hell would break loose. But this is the problem in war. So much of it is waiting. And eventually, why, you get some sharp action, of course. The major was in contact with the infantry officers, and the infantry officers would say, well, now look, can you shell such and such an area? And of course they had all their maps and everything there, and then I would, the major would set up the orders and I would relay it back by radio to our command post, and from there it went to the individual batteries. And then whatever fire orders were carried out, and for the most part I didn't see that much. I could see them going off, yes, but then they would, of course, they would have to say, well, 200 short, 100 right, and so then they would adjust the guns accordingly, and didn't really mean anything to me. I mean, after all, I wasn't the one that started the war. We weren't the ones that started the war, and so we all felt that, hey, we're awful sorry to have to do this to you, but